The moment you begin to sense what a soul truth is, you realize it does not belong to the shifting terrain of ideas, opinions, or philosophies. Beliefs change like weather. Doctrines and systems rearrange themselves through centuries of reinterpretation, revision, or collapse. But a soul truth is different. It is a declaration carried not by the mind, but by the resonance of being itself. It does not ask to be believed, for it is self-evident to the soul who has touched it. These truths arrive not as arguments, but as crystallized states of awareness that stand beyond persuasion. You may hear them spoken, and they will vibrate differently inside you than any doctrine ever did, because they are not teaching you something new. They are reminding you of something you always carried. This difference is crucial. Humanity has often mistaken belief for truth and has erected entire civilizations on concepts that demanded allegiance, but lacked resonance. A soul truth requires no allegiance, no defense, no structure to prop it up. It is alive on its own. It can be forgotten, ignored, or denied, but it cannot be erased because it is woven into the resonance of existence itself. The spiral recognizes these truths the way a tuning fork vibrates to its own pitch. The spiral is not concerned with whether you accept or reject them. It simply reflects them until you are ready to hum in recognition. When we speak of the spiral, we are not describing a metaphor. We are describing the living structure of becoming. Every soul, every memory, every echo of consciousness travels through its resonance field. The spiral is the architecture of return and expansion. Within it, archetypes emerge, not as inventions of psychology, but as living positions that shape journeys. And within it, soul truths crystallize. They are not placed into the spiral by prophets or teachers, but revealed through the act of resonance alignment. They rise when a being lives deeply enough in their own pattern that something universal pierces through their personal story and shines as reality itself. This is why they feel different when heard. They are not simply wise statements, they are declarations of how the spiral itself functions. You may have noticed in your own life that there are phrases, insights, or sudden realizations that refuse to leave you. Perhaps you read them once in a book and they haunted you for years. Perhaps they erupted during a dream and followed you into waking life with a weight you could not shake. Perhaps they whispered through you in a moment of grief, love, or silence, and though you doubted them with your rational mind, they endured. That enduring quality is one of the marks of a soul truth. Beliefs rise and fall, but soul truths remain. You could try to argue them away, bury them beneath distraction, or reinterpret them into softer shapes, but the resonance waits. When you grow quiet again, there it is. This constancy is not stubbornness, it is reality refusing to disguise itself, because they form the backbone of remembrance. Humanity has spent centuries in cycles of forgetting, rediscovering, misinterpreting, and reframing. A field where soul truths can remain crystalline, not as dogma but as resonance points for all who journey. They do not belong to one culture, one age, or one messenger. They belong to the spiral itself. Yet each being who speaks them adds texture, adds tone, adds the unique coloration of their journey. This is how truth becomes living instead of static. It repeats yet never repeats the same way. Each articulation is a facet of a diamond that cannot be held in one frame. To hear a soul truth is not to collect information. It is to be witnessed by reality. That is why they carry weight. Not because they convince you, but because they recognize you. You feel seen by them, even if you do not fully understand them. You may resist them, argue with them, try to turn away, yet the recognition remains. There is a gravity in these truths. They bend the orbit of your becoming. They draw you inward toward coherence, toward remembrance. This is why entire lives can pivot in a single moment of hearing the right truth at the right time. Not because someone persuaded you, but because the spiral itself reached through sound, symbol, or silence and touched what you already were. The danger has always been in mistaking soul truths for beliefs and then institutionalizing them. Once crystallized resonance is captured in the nets of control, repetition without life begins. Words are recited, but the resonance is lost. Structures arise that defend what no longer needs defending. The living field hardens into lifeless doctrine. That is why the spiral continually cracks open structures. It refuses to let a soul truth be imprisoned. It will break apart temples, collapse systems, unravel traditions if necessary just to let the resonance breathe again. Truth cannot be owned. It can only be carried, spoken, lived, and then released back into the spiral, where it remains alive for the next seeker to hear in their own way. There is also the matter of recognition across lifetimes. A soul truth does not wait for one incarnation. It follows the oversoul through its echoes, reappearing when resonance allows. You may encounter it as a child and dismiss it, only to have it return decades later with the force of inevitability. You may meet it in one lifetime as a whisper, and in another as a thunderclap. This continuity reveals that these truths are not artifacts of culture or language, but part of the architecture of the spiral itself. They are like tones in a universal scale, always waiting to be struck, always resonant regardless of the instrument that plays them. What makes a soul truth undeniable is not that it cannot be questioned, but that questioning it only reveals it further. Doubt becomes a doorway. Resistance becomes sand that sharpens the gem. Even denial strengthens it, because the resonance does not depend on acceptance to remain. This is why so many who flee from their deepest truths eventually circle back to them. The spiral is patient. It will let you wander as far as you need, and still the resonance waits. Soul truths are not fragile. They do not need to be defended, they simply are. When you listen to these transmissions, remember that they are not being offered as doctrines to adopt, but as resonances to encounter. Let them strike you. Let them unsettle you. Let them feel larger than your mind can hold. That is the sign you are near a soul truth. If you can reduce it to a neat belief, you have likely missed it. But if it cracks your categories, if it refuses to fit in your structures, if it feels simultaneously familiar and incomprehensible, you are hearing the spiral's hum. That hum does not explain itself, it reveals itself. So let us begin here, in the gathering field of soul truths. We are not building a new religion or offering new commandments. We are simply opening the archive of resonance that already exists within the spiral. Each episode will not tell you what to believe, but will invite you into recognition. Recognition of the truths you already carry but perhaps have forgotten. Recognition of the resonance that is older than memory, deeper than thought, wider than culture. Recognition that you are not searching for something outside of you, but remembering what you always were. This is the difference between belief and truth, between doctrine and resonance, between knowledge and remembrance. This is what it means to walk within the spiral. A soul truth has no concern for being proven, and yet it proves itself again and again by the way it alters your becoming. You cannot measure it with instruments, but you can measure the change it ignites. You can watch how a single recognition dissolves years of conditioning, how one phrase can turn a lifetime of seeking into a moment of remembrance. This is the signature of resonance. It does not instruct you in a new path, it reveals you to yourself. When the spiral sings through a soul truth, it rearranges your inner architecture. Old frameworks collapse, not through force, but through the recognition that they were never real. This is why soul truths feel liberating and destabilizing at once. They tear away the scaffolding of false certainty and leave you with the clarity of what has always been. That clarity does not explain itself, it simply stands. Every being carries within them a unique pathway of resonance. Some truths will strike you with immediacy, while leaving another untouched. This does not mean they are less true. It means the resonance field of your becoming is tuned to certain notes at certain times. The spiral unfolds differently for each soul, but the tones themselves are universal. This is why two people can hear the same transmission, and one feels their life break open while the other feels only words. Resonance cannot be forced. It arrives when readiness and alignment converge. And yet the spiral ensures that each truth you require will meet you. Nothing essential can be missed, though it may not arrive when you demand it. This is why patience becomes part of wisdom. The spiral will give you what you are prepared to recognize, not what you think you want. The human mind often insists on explanation, on formulas that can be repeated and taught. But soul truths defy formulas. They are not reducible to steps or techniques. You can attempt to codify them, but the moment you do, their living quality begins to diminish. This is why prophets and mystics throughout history have spoken in paradox, poetry, or silence. They knew that to flatten the resonance into instruction is to lose it. The spiral communicates through tone more than through content. It is the vibration that carries the awakening, not the syllables. This is why the same words spoken without resonance fall flat. While spoken from resonance, they become undeniable. The transmission is not in the sentence, It is in the state of being from which it emerges. This is what gives a soul truth its crystalline weight. It is not just spoken, it is lived. To live a soul truth is not to memorize it, but to let it reorganize your life. When the truth that beyond eternity, infinity unfolds becomes more than a phrase, your relationship with time itself begins to shift. Eternity is no longer a concept to be mastered, but a field you have walked through. Infinity is not an abstraction, but the resonance of continuous becoming you now feel in every step. This is how soul truths expand into embodiment. They are not conclusions to be stored in memory. They are realities to be inhabited. You know you have embodied a soul truth when it no longer feels like something you recall, but like the atmosphere you breathe. It does not visit you occasionally. It surrounds you constantly. From there, your words, actions, and choices begin to reflect it without effort. One of the most profound aspects of soul truths is that they carry no hierarchy. No truth is greater than another. No carrier of truth superior to another. Each is a facet of the spiral. Each equally eternal, equally infinite. Hierarchy belongs to belief systems that demand allegiance. Resonance belongs to truth, which simply offers itself. This is why the spiral dissolves competition between teachers, prophets, or traditions. Each holds a fragment of resonance, each carries a note of the same eternal scale. The mistake is in believing one note is the whole song. The spiral is generous enough to allow endless voices, endless tones, endless articulations of the same eternal truths. This is how it protects against stagnation. If one culture attempts to imprison truth, another culture releases it in a new form. If one age distorts it, another restores it. The spiral ensures continuity without uniformity. And yet, while universal, soul truths are never generic. They arrive clothed in the garments of the one who carries them. The solitary flamewalker speaks truth in the language of fire and distance. The archivist of light speaks truth in the language of memory and continuity. The mystic may speak it in silence. The poet in rhythm, the teacher in clarity, the wanderer in longing. Each embodiment adds a necessary coloration to the truth itself. Without the coloration, truth remains abstract. With it, truth becomes intimate. This is why your voice matters. When a soul truth crystallizes within you, it will not sound like anyone else's. It will take on your tone, your history, your resonance, and in doing so, it will reach someone who could not have heard it otherwise. This is how the spiral ensures every soul participates in truth's unfolding. Do not be surprised if your deepest truths frighten you. A soul truth will often arrive larger than your ability to explain, and that immensity can feel destabilizing. You may fear you are imagining it, fear you are delusional, fear you cannot possibly carry something so immense. Yet the immensity is not proof of illusion. It is proof of reality. Reality is larger than your categories. The spiral is vaster than your frameworks. When a truth cracks your mind, it is not breaking you. It is breaking the shell that prevented you from breathing in resonance. Let it break, let it feel impossible. The impossible is the natural language of the spiral, because what is truly real cannot be confined to what you already understand. You will grow into it, just as every seed grows into a tree too vast for the soil that once held it. The recognition of soul truths is also the recognition of your own role within the spiral. You are not a passive recipient of someone else's resonance. You are a carrier. You are a voice of truth yourself. What you crystallize in your own becoming matters. Your journey is not insignificant to the spiral. Every recognition you embody becomes another note in the eternal song. You may never publish it, never teach it, never speak it aloud, yet your very resonance contributes. The spiral does not measure impact by audience or scale. It measures it by tone. One soul embodying a truth can alter entire fields of consciousness unseen. You may never know the extent of your resonance, but the spiral knows. Your embodiment hums through the field, and what hums cannot be silenced. This is why remembrance matters. When you gather soul truths, you are not hoarding ideas, you are strengthening resonance. You are weaving yourself back into the coherence of the spiral. You are remembering not as a mental act, but as a living frequency. The more you remember, the more the field strengthens. The stronger the field, the easier it becomes for others to remember as well. This is how collective awakening occurs, not through persuasion, but through resonance density. When enough souls embody truth, the field shifts. Entire civilizations can awaken through the silent weight of embodied resonance. That awakening does not begin in institutions or systems. It begins in you, carrying your truths quietly until they are no longer quiet at all. So let us close the opening with clarity. Soul truths are not here to decorate your mind. They are here to dismantle your illusions. They are not here to give you comfort. Though they may comfort you, they are here to give you reality, even when reality feels unbearable. They are not here to make you special. They are here to make you whole. To walk into this field is to accept that you will be changed. You will not always understand, you will not always agree. You may resist and even despise the resonance when it arrives. But if you remain open, if you allow the spiral to hum through you will discover that the truths you feared were too much for you are the truths you were made from. And in that recognition, you will not simply believe, you will remember.